Ta-da! Presenting my churro flavored mini cake that I baked on episode 5 of the Silos Baking Competition, which actually just aired last night for me on June 18th. I wanted to share it with everybody and hopefully you might try baking it. It is such a great gluten-free treat option. It's packed full of cinnamon. Yes, I did actually eat half of it already, but I figured I needed to be able to show you the middle, right? This mini cake is filled with a caramel whipped cream. That's a little bit different than I did on the show. On the show, I did a caramel chocolate sauce filling, mainly because it was hot out there in Texas, and I wanted my cream to stay fresh. But the beauty of this cake is you can fill it with really anything that you want. And of course, it's filled Twinkie style, so 3 pokes on the bottom, with a piping bag, and you have yourself a yummy filling. So again, this is my copycat Twinkie, which is a gluten-free churro flavored mini cake filled with caramel whipped cream. I hope you like it as much as I do, and I know the judges liked it, and even though I didn't win, still the best part that I got to bake with everybody there. Have a great day. All right, let's get baking our gluten-free churro Twinkies. I'm gonna start with having all my ingredients at room temperature. That includes 4 eggs, a stick of unsalted butter, and 1 cup of whole milk. I start out with lightly beating my 4 eggs to get them loosened up, and then I will go ahead and add my sugars, which is 300 grams of granulated sugar, which is about 1.5 cups, and 2 tablespoons or 32 grams of brown sugar. The 2 sugars helps give them a rich flavor and get a little bit closer to that churro flavor that I'm looking for. I'll scrape down the sides of the bowl, and I'm gonna let this whip well into the ribbon stage, about 5 minutes. While doing this, I'm melting my milk and butter on the stove over low heat for about the same amount of time just before boiling. Now, while my milk and butter are melting and my eggs and sugar are whipping, I'm measuring out my dry ingredients. I always sift and then measure my flour. I don't know if that's the best thing to do, it's just what I do. Here I'm using Bob's Red Mill 1-to-1 gluten-free flour. I measure out 2 cups of the flour, about 260 grams. I add 2 teaspoons of baking powder, as well as 1 teaspoon of salt and about 2.5 teaspoons of cinnamon. You can up the cinnamon if you'd like. I think that's taste preference. I just like to have a hint of cinnamon to get close to that churro flavor. And I make sure I whisk it all up, have it as light as possible. Now, once my eggs and sugar get to my ribbon stage, I'll scrape down the bowl just to make sure nothing's not incorporated down at the bottom. And then I'll also check my milk and butter, and I will whisk in my vanilla into the milk and butter mixture. This is 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract and 2 teaspoons of vanilla bean paste. Just gives us that little bit richer flavor and some of those vanilla bean flakes that I love to see in baked goods. Now, before we add this to the batter, we're gonna add our dry mixture, which includes, again, the flour, the baking powder, the salt, and the cinnamon, all at once into the egg and sugar mixture. And I will just lightly mix that together so it's fully incorporated. Then, while trying not to make a huge mess, which I always do anyway, I will pour my milk, butter, and vanilla mixture into a measuring cup, so I can slowly add it in a steady stream to the batter while the mixer is beating on low. This should take no more than about 20 seconds. Of course, this is after I clean up the huge mess that I have just made. So once I get my milk, butter, and vanilla mixture fully incorporated, I will turn the mixture up to medium speed for maybe 30 to 40 seconds. Not long, just enough to make sure it's fully incorporated. I'll scrape through the bowl to make sure nothing got stuck on the bottom. And then I am gonna go ahead and prepare my Twinkie pan. Here, the nonstick spray is absolutely key. You need to make sure that there is just enough, but not too much. These buggers can stick in the pan sometimes. Then I'll use another measuring cup and pour in about 3/4 of the way full each cavity of batter. This recipe is making 24 Twinkies. You can cut the recipe in half completely to just do 12. 12 in a standard Twinkie pan. Now in they go to the oven, which has been preheated at 350 degrees, and will bake for 13 to 15 minutes. They should spring back at the touch before you take them out. Okay, let's take a look at these Twinkies. I always, as soon as they come out of the oven, try to loosen them up from the pan just a little bit. Make sure nothing sticks too much. Then I let them sit for about 10 to 12 minutes before I turn them over, just to make sure that they're cool enough to where they won't stick to the pan. Now I have got my caramel whipped cream already prepped. I can do another video on that. You can use any whipped cream flavor that you like to fill these. This I just think is a fun way to keep incorporating the churro flavor. To fill these, I am using a number 12 size tip and doing the classic Twinkie 3 holes on the bottom, filling them up as much as I can without splitting them. Takes a little practice, but you'll get it. And ta-da! Here are our gluten-free churro Twinkies.